Here we have the newest fantasy football winner of this year, my boy Day Day.
Yep, let's go.
Congrats.
Great comeback. I started off the year 0-5. Had to make some trades. CD Lamb, Lamar Jackson saved me, man.
Yeah,
CD Lamb was a big trade.
this guy beat me in the regular season and in the semis. Yeah, you had the two best players, best quarterback,
Yeah.
best wide receiver, Lamar and CD. So I have to give you kudos for that. You know what I mean?
Well,
So now that this guy's a rich man, what do you say for the weekend? You're pulling up to Scotiabank Arena for the fight?
bro, I would, but it's not worth it still.
Mm,
I'm disappointed because we haven't had a fight card in Toronto since Holloway Ortega.
yeah.
And back in those days, I couldn't even go to the fights, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
And then now, like, I actually want to go to a UFC fight. And for what the resale, bro, the resale tickets right now for the nosebleeds is like $500, bro. Like, that's just ridiculous. And then I checked like a month ago, it was like $8 bills. Now it's gone down, but like the card isn't thick enough for me to go out there and pay $5 bills to go sit in the nosebleeds. No, but I'm excited for the main event.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
disappointed Manel Cap pulled out, but
No
my
discipline, bro. No discipline. Coming in overweight?
he says he says he got sick, but I don't even think this is his first time missing weight. Like it's disappointing with how much UFC fighters miss weight and how
Yeah.
much fights we actually lose off of cards. Like it's frustrating.
But can you do you wrong fighters if they don't want to fight? Like you already did all your work, you made weight, and then your opponent, he misses weight. Do you wrong fighters for being like, yo, I don't want to fight. Like this guy's he's cheating. Like he's not cheating, but like, come on, bro. It's not a fair fight.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people think about they don't think about the person that had to make the weight. Like it wasn't easy for them. Just because you made the weight doesn't mean it was easy. And then you're fighting someone that didn't make the weight. And I seen there was like there's like no I seen a stat with how much people miss weight and then win the fight. And like what you lose up a little, you lose a percentage of
Yeah.
your fight first, but you still get to go up in the rankings. Lamar Yoel Romero versus Luke Rockhold. He missed weight for that fight, knocks him out, and then gets a title shot against Robert Whitaker. And then he missed weight for the fight against Robert Whitaker the first time, and he still got a second title shot against
Yeah.
Robert Whitaker. There's fighters that miss weight, and it's like it doesn't even matter. You know, Hamzat Chimaev is notorious for having like weight problems now, and there's so much that was even what ruined the his fight with Nate Diaz
Mm-hmm.
and forced him to move up. So it's frustrating that fighters are still missing weight now, and it's something that like has to get figured out. Maybe adding more weight classes can solve that. I think the UFC should add more weight classes, but you run the risk of it becoming like boxing where there's way too many belts, you know?
Like,
So
bro, in boxing, who even thinks about the cruiserweight division? You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So like there's pros and cons with adding more weight classes. But what I was gonna say is you could miss weight, and it's not like you're losing your whole purse or your 75% of your purse. Do you know what I'm saying? You're
Yeah.
only losing a certain percentage. I'm pretty sure it's like less than 50% of your purse you're losing, right?
Yeah, it's like 30%.
Yeah, so some guys they don't even care. And specifically Hamza, I think that's why Dana has no trust in him to give him a title shot. Like,
Yeah.
as much of a beast as he is, why hasn't he got a title shot yet? Because that guy, you just don't know where his head's at. You don't know what he's on. He's always sick. He's always missing weight. He's always talking like he's about it, talking like he's a 185 guy, 170 guy. His mind's all over the place. So a
Yeah.
guy like that, you just have to like keep keep him on the just keep him on the fence, bro. You can't have that guy on the forefront. But yeah, man, Sean Strickland, the champ, the so-called people's champ. Like one thing about Strickland, I like that he's a pressure fighter and he's not scared to get knocked out, just like how he's not scared to go for it against Izzy. Everybody knows how Izzy fights, right? You can't just run at him, but Strickland did that
Yeah,
and he was successful. But outside the ring, and I remember we talked about this before, like he'll have that following outside of the ring, but outside the ring, he's off his steez sometimes, man.
yeah,
Like you seen in the presser, and the journalist is asking him questions. He can't even finish answering the question. He can't even finish asking.
yeah,
Bro, that's his job. Like his job is
yeah,
asking questions. And because obviously Strickland's not for the question he's asking, like he's not for gays and the trans and Ray.
yeah,
He's go F yourself. Like, bro, just let the man ask the question and then you could say that. The man couldn't even finish asking his question. It's kind of like,
yeah,
dude, like I rate you in the ring, but bro, I know you're the champ, but still be a little professional. It is a fight game, but
yeah,
on the mic, he's a little off his skis.
yeah. But I think that's why people like him so much. But especially because in that situation, reporters like that, it's so nasty because it's like, are you even there for MMA? That's what's something that I find so frustrating about a lot of the Canadian press conferences and just UFC press conferences in general. The journalists that they let in don't ask any like good questions. Like that's the question that you're asking the middleweight champion of the world. That's like and it's such a setup question, and it's so obvious what he was trying to do. And I do think Strickland still could have let him get his question out before he sussed him out immediately.
Yeah,
Immediately, like
yeah.
he just went at him.
But
But
he's outspoken though. So
yeah,
why can't you ask those questions? You know what I'm saying? He's
yeah,
outspoken about it. So why like obviously there's gonna be 9 out of 10 of the questions he's gonna be asked is gonna be about UFC. So that one question that's not about UFC, it's about how you talk outside of the cage, what you post on IG, Twitter. Come on,
yeah,
answer that. It's just like VAR
yeah,
in soccer. It's just like challenges in NBA. Like, bro, this stuff is not gonna change. It's not going nowhere. Those people are gonna be how they want to be. Like people, bro, the world's changed, bro. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah,
those people, we see those people every day. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So I look at it like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, yeah, you are the champ, but you could come a little more professional. And another thing is
yeah,
you even remember in the presser with Covington and Edwards, like Sean Strickland is just shelling out shots. He has plenty of ammo. He was getting that shot, Sean O'Malley,
yeah,
talking about how he let one of his homies crush his wife, and then Sugar Sean
yeah,
has
yeah.
nothing to say. Like Sugar Sean's not really his trash talking is so bad.
It's so bad, man.
It's
Like he stutters
weak.
over himself. Did you hear when he's like Sean's more insecure than Ilya is about his shoe size? Ilya is a size 8 or something like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? Like what does that even
Yeah.
mean, bro? Like his trash talk
That's
is
weak
terrible.
sauce.
But also I do hear where you're coming from. Like with Sean Strickland, it's like you can't be that controversial and not expect people to be like that. Like the world we live in. Like you have to almost expect that.
Oh, for sure.
Especially he's had what he's had to say about Toronto and how, or not Toronto, about Canada and like how our country is being taken over and how it's like our country is getting soft and stuff like that. So like what you're coming here for. So
Yeah.
I think you know what you're getting with both sides of the party. The reporter knew what he was getting when he was asking that question. He knew exactly what was going to happen when he asked that question. I don't think the reporter was surprised. That's why he was just like so stoic in his response.
Yeah.
But or in his like the way he was asking it. And I think Strickland knew what to expect from the reporter, and the reporter knew what to expect from Strickland. So I'm not surprised at the engagement, but I'm at the point where I'm kind of sick of UFC press conferences are not worth watching for like there's only so much questions you could ask, but like the questions are so terrible. Like these guys will ask John Anik a question like what do you like to do? What do you think of the fights tonight? Like what does John Anik's opinion matter?
There's no
You know what I
more.
mean?
Yeah.
And if in press conferences, if it's not someone like Strickland to liven it up, or like a Colby or a McGregor or something like that, It's the press conferences are kind of dead. And I think if you had better like if they allowed more MMA media inside the press conferences and not like their own little chosen group, the press conferences could be a lot more eventful and you don't get questions like that and things like that. But at
Hey,
the end of the day, it's clicks, and that's what you sell the fight on. What were you really gonna sell this fight on besides that? I think a lot of like for this fight, you have to sell it on like controversy because I think the fight in the crowd got a lot of people's. I think a lot of the antics outside of the cage has gotten people like interested in the fight. Like the things with Adesanya getting in Du Plessis' face after the fight, calling him the N word, and then
mhm.
Du Plessis and Strickland getting into a fight outside the cage. So the card isn't really that thick, but now Cap pulled out. So a controversial situation like this is kind of something that'll like it'll help sell the fight. Like people say it's dirty, but at the end of the day, bro, it's the fight business. These guys are throwing punches at each
Mhm.
other. It's just like
Yeah,
the Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis situation where like at the end of the day, these guys are the more you could say it's this and that and this and that, but at the end of the day, when that pay per view bonus hits their account, I don't think they're complaining about that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But Strickland's like, if you're gonna dish it out, you have to be able to take it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You have to be able to take it. And he's doing a lot of this contradictory type of movements because first he's saying, "Oh yeah, I don't care what the people think. F the people." And then I'm a man for the people. I fight for the people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So like he's kind of wishy-washy with his movements and with his words. But end of the day, people are gonna gravitate towards him just because he's brash. And you see it on the gram. He has 1.4 million followers. So you're
yeah,
always gonna have a fan base when even if what you're saying makes absolutely no sense, but it comes out the way you want it to, you're gonna have those fanboys. You all seen it in the presser. There was like some random dude running up to Sean Strickland shaking his hand. It's like, yo,
yeah,
bro, like get off the man's jock. Like
yeah,
you guys are trippy. You guys are wilding now. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
all of this attention, like going towards talking about the fight now, all this attention towards Sean Strickland, I think there's possibility he could be overlooking DDP because DDP is he's not getting any real coverage. The questions are either going to
mhm,
Sean or to Dana or as you said to John Annie. So I honestly think this is a good thing for Du Plessis. And if you've
yeah,
seen what he's looked like in the ring, undefeated in UFC last 3 fights, finished guys, and he's doing it in the fight capital of the world in Vegas. Finished Brunson,
yeah,
finished Till, finished Whitaker. So I think that Du Plessis, and it's not because Strickland is talking crazy or anything. I think that Du Plessis is peaking, and
yeah,
I actually have Du Plessis taking it, getting that chip. He'll put the belts over his arm. I think he beat Strickland just because I think it's no real pressure, and he'll like Sean Strickland, as we mentioned, he's a pressure fighter. I think he could step like Du Plessis not as strong as obviously Pereira, but Du Plessis could finish you and he could knock you out. So I think he's either a submission or I don't think it's going the distance. I don't
yeah.
think
I don't think it's going the
this.
distance either.
So I I
I think
want to hear your stance on this fight and the result you got.
um I think it's going to be an interesting fight because what's so crazy is Sean Strickland has a way of throwing punches where when he like sits down on his punches and he really like turns it over, like he can generate some power. And I think if he with that jab that he flicks out and the pressure, if he busts up DDP's nose, because DDP got he got nose surgery so that he could breathe
Yeah.
better, and that's what his cardio was a lot better his last fight that he had. But I think Du Plessis will put the pressure on, and I think he'll force some grappling exchanges. Like even the takedown he got against Robert Whitaker,
Whitaker.
it was like just like a man strength, just
Yeah,
pull, like, just
that's not a lot of
trip.
technique.
It was like a trip, but it was mainly just like a little trip and then just dragging him down to the
Yeah,
ground. And then his ground and pound is rude. Once his top pressure, his top control is really good. Even if he gets you up against the cage the way he had Darren Till,
yeah.
and I think it'll be interesting to see just how uh Sean Strickland deals with Du Plessis' pressure, because
It's a
Sean Strickland,
firefight.
like I said, yeah, it's like I said in the, I thought the same thing about the Adesanya fight, where those guys will both, if you want to stay at range and have the fight where you're jabbing for 3 rounds, 5 rounds, jabbing, staying at distance, throwing leg kicks, they'll have that fight. But if you put the pressure on them, then they'll match your energy, Adesanya and Strickland. So I think especially with the emotions going into the fight
Mhm.
and with everything that's happened, the stuff with the I think the crowd is going to be going crazy because Toronto hasn't had a fight card in a while, and
So
especially because of how, the Strickland fan base, and with everything that's just the attention around the fight and everything that's happening, the whole situation with them fighting. They're going to be playing that in the on the fight previews, even when they fought on the event. They're like, we're gonna have that ready for you after the event. They had people waiting, like they're gonna watch. They're waiting to promote the video of them fighting in the event. So
yeah.
I think with all the pressure and all the emotions, it's gonna be an intense fight, and that can be good or bad for Strickland. I think Strickland is at a point where maybe with the dad stuff he'll fight emotional, but like I said before, he'll stay at range and have a boring fight if it has to be that. But I think the way that DDP brings the pressure, it's gonna be a pretty. It'll probably maybe take a round or two to start firing up. But I think after that, when it gets like the third or fourth, it'll be like, I think we can get like a third or fourth round finish. I'm feeling third, fourth, like a later finish.
Uh,
But I think
this-
it's gonna be. I think they're gonna be trading for a bit.
mhm. Again,
And,
with
and I,
like with Sean again, man, it's like, yeah, we understand you're macho, you shoot guns, and then 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, you're on someone's podcast show crying. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So you look at a guy like that, it's like, bro, like I understand like where you're coming from, but all these guys you're coming at, it's like, bro, you're doing much more sad stuff than them. They're not on no
yeah,
podcast crying. They're not, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Oh, it's okay, Ray. We've all had trauma. We've all had trauma. Like
yeah,
some have worse than others. But the way you're moving, if that's how you are, be 100. But don't be one leg in, one leg out. I'm kind of a soft boy. Okay, I'm hard. Nobody could talk to me. That's the thing where, because don't get me wrong, bro. I'm a Sean Strickland fan in the ring, but outside the ring, this guy's wilding. This guy
yeah,
is wilding outside the ring. Even do you see the thing he said about he doesn't want to see girls fight? It's like, oh, I
yeah,
want to see two lions fight. I don't want to see two little cats or something. It's like,
yeah,
bro, do you know how much crazy fights there have been for women's? Like,
yeah,
say Rose against Andrade. Like, we could go on for days. Joanna, Wei Li Zhang. Bro, there's been so much crazy.
yeah,
Bro,
yeah,
Amanda Nunes could deal with mans.
yeah.
You, you,
There's like, even like, I think it's like, that's like, it's like a soft take, because although I think women's MMA is a very like, I'll give the benefit of the doubt because it's very young. Like, you think about it, women's MMA only really got started in the Ronda Rousey era. You know what I mean? And that's, what's that, like barely even a decade ago? Like, just not like a
it's a bit
decade.
over a decade.
Yeah, a bit over a decade ago. You know what I mean? But for even for when from when she came to the UFC, and from when Dana White said women will never fight in the UFC, to like where it's been now, I think it's progressed. But what he's saying is just like, I understand there are some bad women's MMA fights, but there's also some fat, terrible heavyweight fights that I don't want to see on the card either. You know what I mean? Some fat that should be at light heavyweight or 185, but they're too fat and they just want to be happy that they're in the UFC, and lazy, sloppy 3-round fight. You know what I mean? So I think that I think there's two ways, there's both ways to look at it. But he's also a troll. I think he knows that like he's just gonna say whatever, and he has a type of fan base where as long as you give them a certain type of like, as long as you feed that troll, then they're gonna be satisfied. And of course, he's gonna say things that I disagree with. He's gonna say things I agree with, but that's just like any person, you know. You can't, you're not gonna fully sign on to someone or fully disagree with them. They have things I disagree with, things that I agree with. But with that being said, I rate his fight skills, and
Yeah,
I rate his fight skills. I
for
don't
sure.
think I don't think he's gonna beat Du Plessis. It's such an interesting thing because I don't think he'll beat Du Plessis,
Same.
but I don't say that because I think Sean Strickland's a bad fighter. I think Du Plessis is underrated and he's a hard
Yeah.
worker. And he kind of reminds me of that, like, I don't know, it's weird, like a Volkanovski mindset where it's just gonna, just work hard. You don't need none of the antics or none of that. Just work hard and fight,
Yeah.
and work hard with your team and fight. And he's built like a beast. Sean Strickland looks like he's been training hard too. He
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
like he's
he's
in great
looking
shape.
Brocky, fam.
Yeah. So I'm just looking for. I think it's gonna be a great fight. I think it's gonna be Du Plessis with like a late submission or late finish. I think it's gonna be one of those barn burners because Du Plessis has that style where like he'll keep going even when he's tired, so it looks sloppy. But he does little things that just like that throw you off. The way he keeps the pressure, he throws awkward punches, and when you're tired and someone's throwing those awkward punches, it can throw you off and you can get caught. And both of them have the chin. Both of them have the chin, but Strickland's chin's been
It's been
cracked.
tapped.
Yeah, it's been tapped. So I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to see how Strickland manages his emotions and Du Plessis. There's none of that for him. All the pressure is on Strickland, because especially if Strickland loses, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to come out and bash him. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
for
And
sure.
people that are gonna be waiting to dunk on him if he loses this
Yeah.
fight. So I also think that the UFC could possibly want Du Plessis to win, but
But
also
it's
Strickland's low key becoming a star. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
that's the
interesting. I think
thing.
there's like, I'm happy the middleweight division is at a point where you
Hmm.
have like interesting contenders again. For a while, it was like,
Yeah,
yo, is it when's Izzy gonna move to one or move to 205 or like,
yeah.
you know what I mean, officially, or is he just gonna keep running through 185? So it's nice when you have a fighter lose a belt when you don't expect it because it shakes up the division a bit. So I think 185 is in a great place right now, and yeah, I think Du Plessis, I'll say third or fourth round TKO.
Also,
I don't think it's not going the distance.
no, 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 it's not going the distance. Um, yeah, Sean's becoming a star, man. Sean's becoming a star. You see, Dana's always looking over Sean when he's answering all these questions. Like that's
Yeah,
his favorite child. You see that smirk on Dana. Yeah,
yeah, he's
you
a
see the
little smirk
smirk
on
on
his
his
face.
face, man.
Yeah,
And another thing is we haven't seen Izzy and Dricus fight yet, right?
yeah,
We've seen obviously the little skirmish they had after Du Plessis beat Whitaker, so that would be a very interesting fight. It's 185 is looking real good, but one person who cannot throw any shade if Sean Strickland loses is Colby. Colby, you can't say anything. Anyone else, if you want to give Sean Strickland some backlash,
yeah,
Sugar
yeah,
Sean O'Malley, whoever, y'all have all the right to do so. But that guy, he can't say anything.
yeah.
He
He
needs to
he can't say
he,
anything. He's
he needs to
he's
just be on in hideaway.
Yeah, Colby Covington is he's a disappointment, you know,
It's a
and
shame.
it's a shame. What do you think about John Jones and Tom Aspinall?
I think Aspinall deserves a shot. Why
Did
should
you see
John
them
Jones
going back
just
and
want?
forth
Why
on
should
Twitter?
John Jones? Why should he just want to fight Stipe and call it a career?
Yeah,
I would rather Aspinall get that title shot over Stipe because when's the last time Stipe fought? Okay, I understand when's the last time John Jones fought, but he's arguably the GOAT. So I'd
Yeah,
rather arguably the GOAT fight somebody who has a title, fight somebody who is in form. And again, Aspinall been showing you online, you see what he's saying on X. He been telling you he wants the fight. And again, he fought for the belt. That was basically the title fight. That was
yeah,
basically the title fight. You know what I'm saying? He has
yeah,
the belt. This is the one time or one of the few times where I'll be like, yo, the interim champion, he's actually the champion. Like
yeah,
he fought for that. He's been active. I man, Stipe is not going to be the same. We've spoke about this over and over again. Once you get a certain type of knockout, you don't return to that same guy.
yeah. Bro,
The way Francis rocked him, he's not going to return to the same guy. He hasn't returned to the octagon since. Francis put a hole in his brain, fam.
yeah. He hasn't fought since Alex Pereira has been in the UFC. You know, Alex Pereira has won 2 belts
Yeah.
since Stipe's last fight, and it's sad, man. Like
Mm.
I don't like the fact that it's not even like it feels so fake. Like the interim champion isn't fighting for the belt, and then John Jones is gonna feel satisfied retiring off of that. I even seen a video of Stipe walking around at one of the UFC events a couple months ago,
He wasn't
and he
looking
had a
right.
cane.
He
He was
wasn't looking right.
limping, and he had a cane. And
He had a
he's
cane?
like he had like a little
That's
he had a
crazy.
limp. I was like, what is this?
I seen the limp. I didn't see the cane. What?
I'm like, yo, this is actually crazy. Like
Yeah.
he he is he's like 40 years old now.
Uh-huh.
He hasn't fought in so long.
Mm-hmm.
Then when he got knocked out by Francis, the way he fell back on his leg looked nasty. And that was a bad knockout. And he hasn't fought since. And
Mm-hmm.
not even to forget that the fights he had a banger with DC.
Yeah.
The second fight against DC where he ended up getting the late TKO against DC. He was getting
Yeah.
beat up for the fight,
Oh,
and
for
then DC
sure.
was gassed.
He
And
was.
then the last fight that they had, DC was
He
his
poked
back
him in
was
the
injured. They
eye.
were washed. Yeah,
They were both no, they were both sus. Yeah, but he poked him in the eye. That was a bad eye poke, bro.
yeah. And then DC knocked him out in their first fight.
Yeah.
So like you got knocked out. You had a banger your second fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever the third fight. Then you get knocked out by Francis, and now you're
Yeah.
gonna come back 2-3 years later after that, and you're 40 years old against John Jones, he's gonna be coming back from an injury as well. So I don't think that he wants to even fight Tom Aspinall off coming back from an injury as well, because he's only had one fight again in heavyweight. He hasn't even fought for one round at heavyweight. He's fought for less than 5 minutes. You know what
Just
I mean?
don't he don't remind you quick still.
Yeah, you double Cyril got it quick. So I don't know what they're gonna do with Aspinall. If you keep Aspinall out for
Yeah,
until John Jones is back,
yeah.
and then John Jones is gonna fight, and then he's gonna be out for and then what? So like you're gonna keep Aspinall out until John Jones come back and fights Stipe and then retires. Like,
Yeah.
what's the point of that? Then he's gonna fight for the vacant belt after he has the interim belt.
Not adding up, bro.
That's not fair. And then you're gonna have John Jones sitting there talking on the side about how Aspinall never beat the real champion and how he's still the heavyweight champion and how he never lost his belts. That's what he's gonna. That's the antics he's gonna run with. He's gonna beat Stipe, retire, talk about how Francis ran away and this and that, even though he only decided to move up to heavyweight after Francis left the UFC. And then he's gonna be running around saying, "Yeah, Aspinall never beat him, and how he's still the heavyweight. How like he's such a goat because nobody ever took his belts off of him. He relinquished them and this and that." So I'm kind of over John Jones. From when he failed the drug test after he beat DC with
You
the head
see,
kick the second time, like I remember that fight so vividly. I was watching it in the living room,
I remember
so
that fight.
gassed.
Yeah.
He links up with The Rock after the fight. I'm like, yo,
Oh,
The Rock, like, yo, sick. And then you find out Monday morning that he failed the drug test. It's like,
yeah.
wow, this guy's not serious. And then he's out for getting cards moved when he has a second fight against Gustafsson. They moved the card because he tested positive for whatever substance, and all the stuff that he gets into, all his antics outside of the cage. I feel like we were robbed like a good 5 or 6 John Jones fights.
For sure, man. Yeah.
And like you watch the highlights they're gonna be showing, like even when he came back, like I wouldn't say he's been impressive in like in the Reebok era where like he was fighting Anthony Smith, fighting Thiago Santos, Dominic Reyes.
Dominic Reyes.
Like I don't think he looked impressive in those times. And then I think the Gustafsson fight he came back impressive. The DC fight failed the drug test, so I don't really care about that. And then before that, what they're going to be showing highlights of his fights from when UFC had logos
Mm.
on their shorts. Like they had logos on the shorts. Like I'm like, what
Yeah,
is this? Like that's when it's like over. Like I remember
yeah.
like whenever I'm watching a fight, like they're putting together like the fight highlights and the fight clips, and I'm seeing all these guys' highlights from when they had logos and sponsors on the gear. I'm like, nah, this is not good news. This is
That's
from like before 2000, like
that's ancient,
13,
fam.
14. Like this is before 2015.
Mm.
Like what's going on? Like and
That's
so
that's 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 super ancient.
yeah.
Yeah, man. But how do you feel about, like, you see these fighters, you see all the bad blood, and then they want to dap each other up before the fight? Or are you for like them doing that after the fight? Or do you not like seeing it all? Because we seen in the Covington Edwards UFC 290 296, right? We seen how, as you mentioned, Strickland. Actually, Strickland was a gentleman here. He told was it Gilbert Burns kids? He's like, "Oh, can you just move over,
Yeah,
please?"
yeah.
He's like, "Oh, can you
Move
move over?" And then
over.
he just starts wailing on DDP, fam.
Yeah.
Starts wailing on him. And then you see embedded, and these guys, they're in the same lobby, and then they're dapping each other up.
Yeah, I've been shaking
Like,
hands.
I'm not like, I don't get it, man. Like, I don't get it. I understand if you want to do that after the fight, but before the fight, especially if like you're clowning him, you're trolling him. I remember he posted something on X where DDP was taking a knee and he was marrying some random guy. And then I was like, yo, whoa, that's like, this guy's going off. Like, you know what I'm saying? This guy has a good media team, fam. And then I see on embedded DDP's girlfriend is a baddie. So it's like, yo,
Yeah.
what's going on here, fam? But yeah, like I was like, come on, man. Like, let's keep it 100%. Y'all are beefing before the fight. Let's not, come on, man. Y'all are fighting for the championship of the world, right? This is middleweight.
Yeah.
Y'all are fighting for the middleweight championship of the world. Dricus, I'm pretty sure Dricus doesn't care, but Sean Strickland, don't act like you don't care. You care. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
care, but
yeah.
at the same time, you want to put on the front for your fan base, but
Yeah.
you still care. So
Yeah, facts.
it's stuff just like, it's mind-boggling to me, fam.
Yeah. I- It's I I want fighters to just keep it however, like I just want it to be genuine. I don't like when man's like Sean O'Malley come out and he's doing the trash talk and it's like and it's falling flat. Like no, just come out and say you're gonna knock the guy out. And
Mm-hmm.
even like a Max Holloway, if you like fire up against him, he'll fire up. But for the most part, he's like, like let's fight, like
Oh
So
yeah,
and he's cool and he's not fake. If you're like a Colby Covington and you're dropping your lines and stuttering and it's so obvious everything's rehearsed, and I don't really like it. I also don't like when guys will be like Colby Covington and Edwards. This guy's a dead man. I'm gonna kill him. This, that, and then you
yeah,
guys stand in front of each other for 5 rounds.
yeah,
So I just want I just want you to pull up and fight.
yeah,
That's what I care about. If you pull up and fight, I don't really care if you're gonna talk trash before, because at the end of the day, you're really like you're gonna punch each other in the face, and
yeah.
you're gonna have to stand on whatever you're saying. So that's the thing that I don't really get when people like complain about fighters talking trash. It's like, yo, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to stand on what you say, and it's more embarrassing for you when you're the one that gets knocked out. You know what I mean? And for a while, Kobe Covington was backing it up, and then until you don't, and so
I mean,
if you're talking and you back it up, then I can't say anything. But once you lose, then you have to hold that.
yeah, I remember when Masvidal and Colby, it's like it was after the incident, right? And it's
Yeah,
like, bro, the man called boy on you, whatever happened, you got arrested or whatever happened, right? Bro, you're in the cage with him now. You're not even pressuring the man. It's like, bro, you
yeah,
aren't standing on you're not standing on business.
yeah,
Bro, the man called Y on you. you did what you had to do. I understand, but once you're in the cage, like, come on, you're allowed to do whatever you want now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that
saying? Nobody's gonna put you in
that's
no
the
cuffs.
yeah, that's the weak part.
That
Like I
was
think
weak.
like I think it was weak for him to do that. But also, if you're Kobe, don't you see how Kobe? 1 second he's I have this street cred in Miami and this that and da 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 da
I
and
don't. I
I'm
don't.
gonna I'm gonna ruin man's street cred and this that and you talk a big game. Then when you talk like that, then yeah, people punch you in your face on the street. That's what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People see you at a restaurant and then they come to the restaurant and punch you in your face.
Deal with you.
When you want to talk about street like that, and that's the same thing where you see, you know how you're talking about Strickland. 1 second he's talking about he's moving like he's the hardest man. 1 second he's crying. Same thing with Covington. 1 second he's I'm for the first responders and all this
Mm,
and that, and the next second he's talking about being a gangster and
yeah,
this
yeah,
this and that and street cred and whatever, and then Masvidal's punching him in his face and he's calling the police.
yeah, yeah. Sus man, sus man. All right, we're gonna end it on this, man. Co-main event: Pennington versus Silva. Who you think has this, man? Hey, Silva has some good old black girl lips, huh? I'm not gonna slide
Yeah,
into no DMs because she has a wife and she gets down with girls, but I was like, damn, them things is thick. But
bro.
who you think taking this one?
Um, I think Buena Silva's gonna take it. I think Pennington's too old now. She's over
Yeah,
the hill. Same thing with the you're seeing the fight highlights with the sponsors on the gear.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean?